Welcome to BossPodcast.com. I know what you're thinking. Before we go any further, I know exactly what you're thinking. Who are these two handsome guys and what are they doing on my screen? Well, I want you to know it's not all just beauty. We've got brains, and we're going to be diving deep into your business outcomes to figure out how we can solve those most complex problems that you have in your business. You're in the right place. TheBossPodcast.com. I'm your host, Fredrick Douglas Bussey, and I am joined by my equally, if not more handsome, co-host Richard Pierce. Richard, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, Frederick. I appreciate the introduction. I think that's an important point to share with everybody is we're more than just good looking guys. You know, there is some brains back here because a lot of times people are distracted by that. So just want to point that out and everything. So
That's
so
right. We don't want to be objectified for our
ex-
looks.
exactly right. We don't want to be judged just by that. There is some brains back here and everything like that. So no, that's good.
So I've been told.
Yes.
We got a great topic today. Today we're talking about how to attract only your ideal client. And I think we can describe the problem for those who may be thinking, well, I've already got a business that's going, right? And so sometimes we have a problem that is frustrating us, but we can often, as business owners, accept that that's just the way it is, right? That's just how business is. You're going to have bad clients and bad customer experiences and things of that nature. And what we're here to do today is to dispel that myth, right? That you have to suffer through horrible experiences to make the money and grind it out. Um, Tell me where I'm right and tell me where I'm wrong, Richard. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to share today is, and we're going to go on examples of who is our ideal client so that you can see and translate these into your own business. And we'll go into some other industries as well. Because a lot of times when we have a business that's either plateaued or we're getting too many problem clients and customers, it's often
Mm-hmm.
because we're taking on the wrong customers and clients.
Mm-hmm.
And right,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we're going to go into some very specific details today. We're going to start high level and then get in the trenches, then even give you some exact wording that you can build into your branding and marketing to, and again, this will echo from yesterday's show, to be more effective in your marketing and your branding, which equals more profitability, which then will translate into a happier team and you
Mm-hmm.
working less hours is again that's the reason we're here. So yeah, we'll definitely go into details there, and like you said, Frederick, it will dispel that myth that work is always a struggle. The business is always some type of challenge or something of that nature. Not that it's going to be easy, but we want to remove some of those bottlenecks that we self-impose without even realizing it in our business all the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when people talk about working hard in your business, people think of it as not being fun, as if hard work is not enjoyable. But many of the things that we do in life are very enjoyable, even though they're hard, right? Because there is there is beauty and pleasure that we can get out of overcoming challenges, right? The struggle comes when we don't know how to overcome them. And also when we kind of accept the fact that, oh, it has to be hard and this is just how it's supposed to be. And we don't realize that that is actually one of the secret ingredients to keeping us from getting to growing faster. Excuse me, because we get bogged down with clients, for instance, like we're going to talk about today. We get bogged down with people that are holding us back from being able to serve at a higher level, to be able to make more profit from our business, things of that nature. I mean, let's dive into it because I think just
Yes.
dancing around it,
Yeah.
what would you say is? Go ahead.
So to echo what you said there, 1%, and this is worth writing down. Again, we're sharing these secrets, these best practices in business. 1% of your clients will be 99% of your headache. 1% of your
Mm,
clients, right? It's an eye opener. It makes you think about it, right, Frederick? 1%.
yeah.
So, for example, you have a, let's say, a car dealership. I'm just using this as an example. You have a car dealership. You could sell 100 cars, and one of those customers will be 99% of your headache. Maybe it's part you, maybe
Hmm.
it's part them, maybe it's all of them, whatever it may be. This could be for anything: construction company, restaurant, architecture firm, regardless of what industry you're in. And
Hmm.
that's one of the reasons where we're going to go through this today is, and I'm going to share our main framework that we use. I'm going to share that and give some specific examples. So let me turn on the fancy. You want to go ahead and Frederick and kind of go into some specific items. I'm going to screen share this here.
Yeah, I think that statistic is very, very important because it offers some perspective. It's funny. I had a meeting yesterday, and I was going to wear a shirt. I was ironing a shirt to get ready to go to my meeting, and then I realized that the shirt had a stain on the collar, and it's a very tall, very tiny dot. It looked like it might have been blood from me shaving or something like that. Right, very, very tiny dot. But I couldn't wear the shirt because I'm saying, "Oh, this is going to be dirty." Right now, the percentage of that shirt overall had to be less than 1%. It might have been 1/10 of 1% of the overall fabric, but it was taking up 100% of my focus. Right?
Yes,
And I
yes.
think
So
that's kind of what you're saying with the business is that a lot of times it feels like things are worse than they are because we're spending an exorbitant amount of time or an inordinate amount of time chasing after or dealing with one particular or a few particular customers, a small percentage. So why don't you share the framework and
sure.
kind of how we can start to reframe that in our heads?
Absolutely. So, the people that are watching on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or the website, they can see this visual. And if not, if you're listening, you can go to gatewaybusiness.com, and it's the framework with the pyramid, the famous pyramid everybody's been talking about for years. So this is an example of who is an ideal customer for us. And then again, we're going to go into some specific industries where you can use the wording for yourself. So
Hmm.
if you want to look at the outside of the circle, the three desired outcomes for our ideal customer are freedom. They want to control the hours they work, the types of customers they have, and even the types of employees.
Yeah.
Then on right, and then profits. Our good old buddy Uncle Warren Buffett, he said money's not everything, it just gives you more options, right? So we want to have more options by increasing our profits. And then at
Hmm.
the very bottom, last but not least, is sustainability. So
Right.
sustainability is building a business that will run without you being there. So it's really a business. And
Hmm.
that is an example of the three desired outcomes that our ideal client has. And then if we get into the psychographic profile, which is so important with this, all of our clients, every one of them, their top priority is their family. So for
Hmm.
example, right? So for example, when we're talking to a prospect, we ask them questions to find out, you know, where does he like to spend his time? If he had more profits or more him or her had more freedom, what would they do with that
Hmm.
freedom? Right? So if you
Right.
notice, we do that through asking questions to see what their answer is going to be. But the question isn't, hey, is your number one priority your family? Right. so, so,
Right.
um, so for an example, let's use an example. We were talking yesterday. Let's just say it's a restaurant for an example. So
Hmm.
if the restaurant, let's say they have barbecue, it's a barbecue restaurant. So if they
Right.
say for barbecue lovers only, right? For
Hmm.
barbecue
Hmm.
lovers only. Now that's going to possibly polarize some of their audience. Some people are going to be like, well, I'm not a barbecue lover, so I'm not really going there. That's okay.
Hmm.
But the people that are barbecue lovers, they're going to be like a magnet to that restaurant. So
Right.
in effect, right? So in effect, you'll get more customers that way. And you
Hmm.
will decrease, right? And you will decrease the likelihood of people that don't like barbecue just coming to it because it's a restaurant. And circling back to that 1% of your customers is 99% of your headache. If you're just getting people in general that like food but not necessarily barbecue, they're going to say, well, there was too much sauce on it. Well, it had whatever it may be.
Hmm.
So that's an example where you want to call out to who you're looking for by making those very strong, I'll even call them polarizing statements. Like I'll
Yeah.
use another one, right? Like an HVAC company. Here's a perfect example. So let's say you're an
Hmm.
HVAC company, and this could be any skilled trade. It could be painter, plumbing, whatever it may be. You could say, we specialize in older homes. We
Hmm.
specialize in older homes. So
Hmm.
are you going to get people with newer homes calling you? Possibly. Yet you're going to get more people calling you with the older homes. And if right,
Right.
that's an example of building that brand and that marketing. You're very targeted in calling out to a very specific audience, and that is one way to craft your message. They say the brand message, to really craft that message versus being so general and just saying, well, we do HVAC on residential, commercial, and industrial. That's okay-ish,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
We do
Right.
everything to everybody is the best way to dilute your brand and being too general. So that's the main thing here is you want to focus on like like back to HVAC. Let's say you focused on industrial. So if that's your primary focus, you want to call out to that audience because that's a whole different audience than like residential or even commercial customers. So
Yeah.
what is
Absolutely.
your what's your perspective on that, Frederick?
Yeah, I think that's really great. One of the things I think that so it's counterintuitive for a lot of business owners because they feel that they have to call out to everybody. They need a bigger pond to fish from, right? And so that's what you hear a lot of people say. You want to increase your audience, you want to increase that. And what you're actually saying is that what you want to do is you want to create a filter that not everybody can get through. And so people will self-select
Say that
out of
again.
the process.
So say what you said. You want to create a filter. I think that's worth. I think there's a lot of value there. Creating a filter that not everybody can get through. That's solid gold right there. Everybody write that down. Create a filter that not everybody can get through. Go ahead.
Right, right. We hear a lot about funnels today, right? And so people are thinking of the funnel in terms of how they're able to funnel people through a process. But if you have a funnel without a filter, then what you end up with is a lot of trash in your funnel, right?
Yes.
And no disrespect to people who think that I'm calling them trash, but you want high quality clients. You all and what a high quality client is for you, and I guess we could define what an ideal client is, but before we get there, it's just understanding that you don't want everybody coming through this process because
Wise.
unwanted prospects cost you time, money, and effort, right? And so the better you are at messaging, the better you are at calling out to your ideal client, the better you're going to be at attracting the right type of people. And so by the time they get to your front door, by the time they get to your website, by the time they jump on your calendar, by the time they're ready to book an appointment with you, you already know that they're at a higher tier of ideal clients versus you having to go through all that process again. And what it does is it makes you more profitable. It also makes your sales team and your team more confident in their abilities because they're not always dealing with problems and headaches, right? They're actually able to do what you're hiring them to do, which is to solve people's problems, which is to help people and to be able to grow your business. What do you think about that, Richard?
It's so true. When you said that, like the team, your employees, their job will be easier, quote unquote, because it's a better fit for the company. So
Hmm.
if you use like the shoe analogy, we've all had shoes that just didn't quite fit right. They were okay, and then we've all had shoes, different shoes that really fit great. They were comfortable. They worked for our feet. We didn't have any blisters or anything of that nature. So that's what you
Mhm.
want to look at with your, um, with your customer acquisition and even your retention. There are some customers, and everybody has had them. You may even have them now. There are some customers out there that you just need to tell no to, or somehow fire
Mhm.
as politely as you can, or as effect, depending on what your um, tie-ins to them, your obligations are. But some of them just aren't a fit, and that's what I find a lot of times when I work with companies and their culture needs improving. Sometimes they have customers that are affecting the culture, and the owners of the business either don't know that or they don't realize how much it's affecting the culture. And again,
Yeah.
going back to looking at who your ideal client is, which we will go into the definition of this in a second. So you want to look at your mechanisms for keeping out, again, creating those filters so that you keep out people that are not a good fit for your business.
Right. Right. 100%. Um, why don't we stop keeping the people in suspense, because they may be thinking, and I think they would be right in asking this question. Well, what is my ideal client?
Yes.
And I preface that by saying, how many times have we talked to a client and they can be having a quote unquote successful business? They're already doing seven figures, $1 million, $2 million, and yet they don't have a defined ideal client. So, what is that definition that they should be thinking about that can actually help shift their perspective and propel their business forward?
Yes, absolutely. So everybody, again, get your pens out. There's going to be a quiz. So an ideal client is the person that you create the most value for, person or company, depending on if you do B2B or B2C. But it's the ones that
Mm,
you create the most value for, not the ones that can pay you the most money. So I think
mm,
that's important, right? It's an eye opener, right, Frederick?
mhm,
It's
mhm.
not the ones that can pay you the most money or even do pay you the most money. It's the ones that you create the most value for. And that
Why is that such an important distinction, Richard? Because a lot of people would think, well, the people who pay me the most money are my best clients. And
Yep,
that's what you hear a lot out there in advice world, right? So why is it about the value versus the price?
because you want to make your business customer centric. It's centered around your ideal clients. It's not centered around the provider themselves.
Mhm.
So let's say, for example, you're a CPA firm. I'll use this as an example. So let's say you're the owner of a CPA firm, and your clients are main street businesses. They're your mom and pop owned businesses. They're the bakery. They're the dentist. They're the smaller independent restaurant. They're the auto repair shop. They're the main street business that the owner works there in the trenches on a daily basis, even with employees. So let's say that as a CPA firm, that is your ideal client, and that is the one that you create the most value for because you help them close their books monthly, prepare their taxes, handle compliance items, things of that nature, versus let's say let's say I'll make this up, like a Fortune 1000 company could pay you more money than that Main Street, yet they've got complexities that maybe you don't have the capacity or the experience to handle, and then they become that, again, big headache. It sounds good, they're going to pay you a larger um, amount every year, yet you don't have the focus on being customer centric and who that ideal client is. and
Yeah.
and with that, you want to get into how do you figure out who your ideal client is and how do you get more of them? Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, I think that would be good because what you're describing is a very counterintuitive way of looking at businesses. And one thing is interesting, what you said, it makes me, it highlights how you can actually be more self aware about the strengths and weaknesses that you have in your own business. but you're doing it from the perspective of your client. And then you understand how you can actually make a better, more compelling case, right? When we're talking about calling out to who we work with, um, you make a more compelling case because you have a greater understanding of exactly why you're more valuable. Whereas most people are trying to, they're commoditizing their business and putting themselves on a level playing field with everybody else. And really what you want to do is you want to be able to elevate yourself, elevate your positioning. And you do that by being really, really introspective. You say, this is what we do well. This is what we're equipped to do well. This fits our mission. This fits our culture, all of those things. And so your clients, your ideal clients are able to look at you and see easily, this is the one that makes the most sense, right? So when we're looking at that, how do they start to identify their ideal client?
Yes, great question. So let's use the CPA firm as an example. So you're the owner or a partner of a, medium or smaller sized CPA firm, and your ideal customers are mom and pop Main Street, right? They're the local
Hmm.
bakery, local restaurant. You have a dog groomer as a client, items of that nature. So what you
Hmm.
do is you look at who are three of your clients that if we had a magic cloning machine, we would replicate these customers. Just kind
Hmm.
of go through them. Everybody has this, So who are these three ideal clients? What are some of their psychographic profile that we could focus on to replicate? And like you said earlier, which I want to go into specifics here, is calling out to who you're looking for versus saying what you have to offer. So let's say, for
Hmm.
example, that CPA firm, there's three, and I recently did this with a client that it is a CPA firm, and they said one of the commonalities, one of the patterns that they had was that the owner of the business was the founder. They're the one that started the business. They started it from scratch. So they have,
Hmm.
right. So one of their, the reason I say bakery, one of my CPA clients has a bakery as their client. So they're like,
Hmm.
well, the person had some good recipes. They started working out of their house. It grew. Now they have a retail location. They have 7 employees. So again, we're looking at some commonalities here. So like with
Hmm. Hmm.
right with my client that's the CPA firm, I said you could in their branding and marketing, we are crafting the message that we specialize in working with founders of companies. So again,
Right.
that's right. And so you could say specialize, or you could say we only work with founders of companies. You could,
Hmm.
again, it's that recipe. Is there a really we work only with is a lot stronger. You will still get people that aren't founders calling you saying, "Well, I'm not the founder, but could you work with me?" So it doesn't mean that you will turn away non-founders, like an owner of a business. Let's say someone bought an existing company and they're not the founder, you may still work with them. Those people will still call you.
Right.
So, right. So that's an example. So, like for example, we do payroll like this accounting firm, a client of mine, they do payroll. Not all CPA firms do payroll. Again, that's a different
Mhm.
discussion. So they say we are experts at doing payroll. So then,
Right.
really, right, that's going to call out a different type of client because
Hmm.
some people they outsource it to big companies, even though they have an accounting firm, they outsource their payroll to a separate company that specializes in doing payroll because that's separate from, closing books, things of that nature. So again, you just take these items like they do the payroll for that bakery. What are some other items they do? Maybe they do monthly um, closing of the books, or maybe they want it done more, even more often, maybe weekly and everything. So maybe there's a certain type of software they like working with QuickBooks, or they like working with Sage. There could be different items there. So I think that's the main thing is sort of look at that from a high level. Start with three customers that you have, and then on a very granular basis, what are some commonalities that those customers or clients have that you craft into your marketing message. So I think that's the biggest thing there. And is that give some clarity? I know that there's probably some people have questions if they want to ask any questions and need additional clarity and everything.
Yeah, if you're watching this live, drop a comment or question in the comments for us below. And if you're watching this on replay, drop a hashtag replay. We're still happy to go back in the comments and either answer your question on a future episode or right there in the comments as well. I think that's a great way to frame it. I don't think a lot of people think about calling out to people with greater specificity. And I always tell clients, be as specific as possible, because I talked about this a little bit on the podcast last time, but in episode 5, we talked a little bit about the bullseye, right? And so in the center of the bullseye is the most specific that you can possibly be, which lets people know that you're the ideal client. The way that a bullseye is designed, it draws the mind to the center, and you actually want to be at the center. And so when you own the center, you actually own the whole board, because every ring outside of that is a different element that people might remove, but lets them know that you're. I'll use your example of the CPA firm as an example, right? Let's say that they work with founders, but they also work with people who have bakeries, right? So they work with founders of bakeries, and then they could say we work with founders of bakeries of a certain size, right? That have between 10 and 30 employees, right? And that feels like you're cutting out a lot of other people, but actually what it allows people to do is say, if I'm a founder of a bakery, I believe they can work with me for sure. But if I'm just a founder of a business, then they can work with me, right? What it does is it sets you apart when you are known as an expert in something, right? A lot of people are generalists, and yet we all know that heart stage surgeons and brain surgeons are viewed as the smartest, even though they're not supposed to. They don't specialize in the entire human body. They only specialize in one particular area. But it lets you know, if I have an issue with my brain, it tells you the value of what their expertise is. And they're known as a top in their field because they're a specialist. But there's all kinds of specialists. And if you're not a specialist, then people actually have a harder time deciding how to choose, because I don't know why I'm going to, right? If I have a pain in my foot, I'm not going to go to somebody who specializes in the heart, because unless I know that there's a direct correlation, I want my foot fixed. And so you want to attract those people who are ideally suited to get the most value from you, because that hinges on everything else we're talking about.
Exactly right. And back to that specialist, like you said, if you want a surgeon that specializes in shoulders, then they're going to be paid more. They're going to be more sought after than, like a general practitioner. They're valuable, yet they're not going to earn as much as like someone that specializes in a very specific part of the body. I want to circle back. I know we kind of showed the item here, but I'm going to go into detail very specifically. So we're talking earlier about, finding your ideal clients. We said you want to call out to who you're looking for versus saying what you have to offer.
Right.
So let me give you a very specific example. So let's say like that CPA firm, for example. So what typically happens, people will advertise and they'll say that, I'm going to pick on CPAs, for example. They're going to say, well, I've been a CPA for 25 years. I went to this school. I'm QuickBooks certified. I have, they start to like me. I live in Pennsylvania, all this me stuff. And right. And then you start sounding like every other CPA firm. Well, one's been doing it 25 years. One went to this college, one certified, all these other items, which is okay-ish. Yet we're here to talk about how do you get more results faster. And you do that. So calling out to who you're looking for, like we said, if you said, we specialize in working with bakeries. We specialize in manufacturing companies. That's another specialty that um, that CPA firm, they work with manufacturing companies, just
Hmm.
medium sized, nothing huge, just medium sized manufacturing companies, sometimes even little smaller manufacturing companies. So
Hmm.
right. So that's kind of an eye opener. So it makes you think. We specialize in working with manufacturing companies, with revenue between $1 and $10 million. So that limits, um, in their description. Yet, like you said, Frederick, people will still call them with $20 million in revenue manufacturing, or maybe it's a growing one and they only have 500,000 in revenue. They literally get
Hmm.
phone calls that says, "Well, we're not at a million yet. We're at 500,000. Would you work with us?" Well, gladly, we'll work with you because we know that that's going to grow up. So and
Hmm.
again, I want to make that example. It's so important. I want to talk about it from every perspective possible.
Yeah.
The example, right? The example of calling out to who you're looking for is so powerful. It's worked in growing, our advising firm. I've used it with clients in every industry. And at first, there's a little resistance because it's like, well, I don't want to limit myself to only working with older homes or manufacturing companies or whatever it may be. Yet,
Hmm.
you'll get more of that type of prospect there.
You said something that is really, really important. Just to go back to the example, like for instance, with brain surgeons or specialists, right? People would say, "Well, I'm limiting myself," but when you think about it, everybody has a brain. So what's the limit, right? You're actually, by narrowing your focus and highlighting your specialty, you said something that's really, really key, which is you can actually get paid more. Specialists are always paid more than generalists. And
Yes.
so by not focusing on who pays you the most currently, but by focusing on who you can give the most value to, you actually increase your capacity to make more profit in your business because people will pay more for somebody who specializes in their problem. And so you can actually you're increasing the effectiveness of your marketing because you're able to tell the story from the client's perspective. You're able to talk in detail about their issues in a way that lets them know that you understand them better, which also builds up more credibility, which brings more authority. And again, it sets you apart from everybody else who's talking about their certifications and the size of their store and the shiny new toys that they have on the parking lot, whatever the case may be. These are all different ways that people end up sounding alike that they think makes it set apart instead of focusing on who you are trying to attract, who your ideal client is, so that they can see themselves reflected in the marketing. They can see themselves reflected in the message. And so now it becomes an ideal fit for them. And people talk about that a lot, right, Richard? They talk about who's a good fit. But in reality, most people aren't thinking about, they're thinking about whoever's money fits in my wallet is a good fit for
True.
me to serve, right?
That is so true. Yeah, yeah. Just finding that out, and then when you're, again, I think that's an absolute positive item to focus on. What is that sweet spot? I guess that's another word that's used a lot too. What is that sweet spot, that target audience that you want to communicate with? I think it's
Yeah.
so important, so very very important in everything. And I want to again go a little bit deeper into our example. So a
Hmm.
business owner that's an ideal client for us is someone that wants to multiply their profits. And I'll repeat
Mm.
that. It's important. Multiply. So if you want to multiply your profits, not just increase it a small percentage. Some people are happy with that, which that's okay, right? If some people want
Right.
to
Right.
increase their profits by a little bit, that's okay. Ours, they want to multiply their profits. Another key thing too
Mhm.
is there's no quick fix. I know there's a lot of different programs and advisors out there. They have some really quick fix, and it may or may not work. I'm not sure, but that's not who our ideal client is. Our ideal client is going to know that it takes consistency, it's going to take a level of determination to really reach their business aspirations. So
Hmm.
if you notice, there were just two items there in addition to the earlier item that we covered, that 100% of our clients for our business firm, their family is their number one priority. So we've lost, I'm not sure the percentage, we've lost quite a few people just with those three elements there. You
Hmm.
know, so that's an example. And again, every business has something that they can make a very strong statement. And the trade-off is you will lower the amount of money that it takes you to acquire new clients. And here's the real secret. Is everybody on secure Wi-Fi here and everything? Here's the real secret. You will retain your customers longer, and you will get more referrals from existing customers than you ever have before. So just think
Hmm.
about that. What will that do to your bottom line? What will that do to putting you in control of your business if you can retain existing customers for longer periods of time, and they give you more referrals that become customers, so that you've lowered the acquisition cost of every one of your clients. That's something to think about. What's your perspective on that, Frederick?
Yeah, I 100% agree. One of the things that many business owners overlook is the fact that when they're thinking about marketing, they're not thinking about the people that are going out the back door, right? So they're trying to get people in the front, and those customers are going through and they're coming out the back. But what if you could get them to stay inside your business and continuously give you more and more revenue, right? That's a part of understanding how you add the value. Part of the value for your clients is that they don't have to go shopping for the next you, right? And so
Well
why
said.
would they stick around? If you asked your clients, or if somebody asked their client, why do you pick Richard and Frederick over other business advisors, right? They should be able to clearly articulate, well, they understand my problems uniquely. They are able to cater to my specific needs. They've helped me to grow, not just the fastest, but to be able to accomplish the outcomes that I wanted sustainably, more profitably. And now my business grows without me, right? So their ability to be able to articulate that is one of the reasons why we work so hard to be sure that we're giving the most value to a particular type of person, right? We can't. I said this on the stage when I spoke this past weekend in Nashville. I said one of the things about our clients is that I can't help you if you don't want to be wealthy, right? Not that you have to be wanting to be filthy rich, but I definitely can't help you if you don't want to be wealthy, right? Because you're going to be rejecting thoughts of growth. You're always going to be have a poor relationship with money, and so therefore, when I make suggestions to you about how you can grow, subconsciously, you're always going to be kicking those ideas down out the door, right? And so you're stifling your own growth because of your own limits. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, how many business owners I've talked to who will always say, it's not about the money. They'll always say, well, it doesn't have to be that big. I don't want it to be too big. And there's reasons for why they're thinking that way. But if they're thinking that way, it's a filter for me to know we really can't help you. If you want to build generational wealth, which a lot of people talk about, you have to be thinking in a certain way. You have to be open to certain suggestions and frameworks, which we're going to offer you. These things are proven, tried, and true. Like you always say, they're as good as 2 + 2. They're proven as tried as true as 2 + 2 is 4. So if we're going to offer these things to you, but you're not open to receiving them, we can't help you. And so having that clarity is something that's allowed us to be able to pivot and to be able to grow the firm even larger because we're not calling out to those types of people anymore.
That is so true. It's about being a match. The people that, like you shared with us, is they have to want to create that generational wealth, and sometimes it's just timing. The timing has to be there as well. I wanted to include, it made me think about it when you said earlier that we're growing our business advising firm. So we're looking for to add people to our team. And one of the items, one of those types of positions we have is a business intern. So if you want to learn the fundamentals of business from the best in the world, reach out to us, gatewaybusiness.com or bosspodcast.com. Shoot us a text, shoot us an email. There are some scholarships available. So if you want to learn the fundamentals of business, or if you know someone that would like to take their game to the next level with being able to implement and execute in a real world business situation, reach out to us. We'll guide you through all the steps. No experience is necessary, just a true desire to understand, what separates business theory from reality. And then the next item is we have had some good feedback. We've been sending out a business visual tool that we don't charge for. We mail it out to you. Just again, reach out to us at either site, gatewaybusiness.com or Boss Podcast. Shoot us a text or an email, and we will mail this out to you. So I think this is a good show. A lot of good takeaways, and just again here to add value where you can continuously make your business better today than it was yesterday.
I think you said it all, Richard. Thanks to those of you who watched for today, who dropped in live for a second, a minute, or even longer. Thanks to those of you who are watching on replay. Drop a hashtag replay. Let us know your thoughts, your takeaways, and any questions that you might have. If you have other questions you want to know and you are interested in being a guest, having us spotlight your business on the show, reach out to us at bosspodcast.com or gatewaybusiness.com as well. Any last words for the people, Richard?
Just everybody know that you can achieve what your vision is, no matter what challenges you have, what plateaus that you may be facing at this time. We've seen every scenario you can think possible. Just reach out to us. We'll be glad to talk with you and walk you every step through that journey.
Well said. Business can be lonely. Entrepreneurship can be lonely, but you don't have to go alone. We're here with you every step of the way. For my co-host, Richard Pierce, I'm Fredrick Douglass Bussey. As always, ever forward.